CQ, CQ, CQ. Calling all stations to the South Central Area Net. This is K9OPL, Kilo Alpha 9, Oscar, Papa, Lima. My name is Joe, serving as net control for this session of the South Central Area Net. Net meets every Tuesday evening beginning at 8:30 p.m. local time on the Columbus Amateur Radio Club 2-meter repeater, operating on a frequency of 146.79 megahertz with a minus offset and a PL tone of 103.5 hertz. Net is sponsored by the Columbus Amateur Radio Club. All duly licensed amateur radio operators who have privileges on this frequency are invited to join us. Before we begin, do we have any stations holding emergency, priority, or welfare traffic this evening? Any emergency traffic during the net, please alert me with the words break, break, and I will assist you at that time with your emergency. Do we have any non-emergency routine traffic this evening? Please call now. K9OPL, I'll be beginning to take check-ins momentarily. When you do check in, please give your FCC call sign using plain English as well as using ITU phonetics, so it's easier to copy, and give your name, please. Short time stations are those who will not stay for comments later. If you wish to be short time, please begin to call now.
Mike Whiskey Bravo. That's W9MWB. This is Matt from Columbus, short time.
Dave, Shelbyville, short time.
Kilo 9 Romeo Mike Romeo. Repeat, K9RMR. Randall and Rueff, Piersville, Bartholomew County. Good evening, Joe, and everybody else on the net.
Whiskey Bravo 9, Sierra Mike Charlie, John, Columbus. Good evening, Joe and the group. No traffic.
Okay, let me recap those. W9MWB and 9QVO. K9RMR, WB9SMC. Good to hear all of you in there. Any other short time stations? This is K9OPL. We will now move on to regular check-ins, and check-ins are taken by order of call sign suffix. The first letter following the number in your call is the letter that you use when I call by suffix. Stations with suffixes beginning letters alpha through hotel, please.
Kilo Golf, Niner, Delta, Kilo, KG9DK, John in Columbus.
Hotel.
Kilo Echo 4, Kilo Oscar, Quebec. The name is Buford, Columbus, Indiana.
Because I heard some more, I heard another carrier in the background, but Buford won that one, if there was another one. If there was another station or anyone else, India through Romeo, please.
K9OPL, it's probably my weak signal. W9MDT, Whiskey 9, Mike Delta Tango, Mike in Columbus.
Interesting, when you first started giving your check-in just now, there was a little bit of noise behind you, and then toward the end of it, you were full quieting, so I'm not sure what that means, if anything. Anyway, I got you, no problem on the copy. You're going to have to get yourself a big amplifier when you move further away from us, so you can still get here. Hi. Any others? India through Romeo. Go with the remainder of the alphabet. Sierra through Zulu, please.
N9TLF, November 9, Tango Lima, Foxtrot, Paul.
The South Central Area Net. Let's go with the entire alphabet. Anyone who has not yet checked in, please call now. We'll get some additional check-ins later on. And we'll go back and start comments with John, KG9DK. Good evening.
This is KG9DK. Good evening, Joe, and the rest of the group. And Joe, I appreciate that good explanation of suffix. I remember last week I thought I checked in on a turn, and it was one of those things I've noticed as I'm getting older now, much older. Sometimes I'll look at something and interpret it different, because what I did is I looked at kilo, the last letter, and I said, oh my, that's outside the group that you called for, but really Delta, which is after my 9, is the one I always go by, and of course you explained that then too, and I don't know, it's just one of those things. I had a couple of things this week. I looked at something and I interpreted it the wrong way, and then later on discovered it was the way I thought it was. So that might be a sign of something. I don't know. But anyway, I hope everybody's enjoying the cold weather. There's not much we can do about it. I know I have to dress quite warmly to get outside. Other than that, that's about it. So I'll get control back to you, Joe. This is KG9DK, back to net control.
Okay, very good, John. And yeah, you sounding good. And yeah, you know, those things can happen. And I'm not sure. I suppose age could have something to do with it. I don't know. There's just so much going on in life these days. It's hard to keep anything from getting a little confusing. The whole world's confusing right now, among other things. But sounding good. Flipped over to input. I thought you'd be strong on input, and you were. I'm not sure how far away you and I are from one another, but anyway, thanks for being there. And we'll go to KE4KOQ. Buford, good to hear you. Your turn.
This is KE4KOQ. Yeah, I done made up my mind I was going to check into the net tonight. I come in here, was listening to some television, and so anyway, I haven't done much. Of course, I really honestly never did do much. But anyway, it's been a wonderful day. I had a caregiver, and so she did what she was supposed to do. And after that, I took a notion I'd lay down and take a nap. So that's what I did. And so anyway, I hope everyone is doing okay, and it's good to hear those that are on the net tonight. And Joe, it's always a pleasure to check in on your net. So I'll say pleasant good evening to everyone. Hope to catch you next time. KE4KOQ, back to net.
All right, very good, Buford. Well, thank you, and good to have you there. And let's see, we'll move on to W9MDT. Mike, good evening. Your turn.
K9OPL and the net. This is W9MDT. I'm kind of chuckling because my wife is watching Christmas shows and singing along with, and I had to remind her that I was getting on the net, and I think that's all I'm gonna. I think that's all I'm gonna say about that. And now she's giving me a hard time, so I can't win. It's been a pretty quiet week. Some of you may know, week. He was just 2 years older than me. Had a tumor on that rested on his lungs and his heart and his esophagus, and just went into the hospital on Thursday and passed on Sunday a week ago. But I know that he's in a better place now, and he was a huge race fan, and he actually was good enough to make it his career. But anyhow, with that, and I told you folks last week that I'll be moving probably the first of the year or shortly thereafter. I have been studying how I'm going to set up my new radio room, and I'll actually have a room instead of what I have now is basically a closet. So lots of thinking, and so if anybody has any suggestions, I sure would welcome them. The room is probably, I think it's like 10 by 9, something like that, and it'll be an office / radio room. So if you've got any suggestions, I sure would welcome them. And of course, the big thing will be getting the antenna up, getting the antennas up, and hopefully we'll have a very mild January, and that won't be too much of an issue. But anyhow, that's about it for me, Joe. Sorry I missed out on the CARC meeting last week, but I just didn't think it would be. I would be able to get there on time. But anyhow, I'll turn it back to you. K9OPL. This is W9MDT. Back to net control.
W9MDT. Okay, Mike, thank you very much. And, once again, condolences on your cousin. That is, things like that sometimes when they happen so quickly, it's just sort of a unhappy surprise. But we do know that there's a future. Somebody always said, one of my friends who's a Christian said, death is real, but it's not final. That's the way that is. And yeah, we'll have to make sure we get you set up over there in your new location so that you can communicate. Of course, you'll have your hotspot so you can communicate over D-Star Fusion, any of the digital modes, and make use of that as well. One of these days, maybe we'll get this repeater of ours on the gateway. We can figure out how to do it, and we can open our nets up to D-Star at some point. Well, next up, N9 TLF. Your turn, Paul.
Good evening, Joe, and everyone on the net. Everything seems to be okay here. I was wondering last week what was going to happen on Friday the 13th, and sure enough, our electricity went off. So it was just our house, though. It wasn't the whole neighborhood. And I called Duke Energy, and the nice man came over and climbed up the pole and fixed it. So something just came loose. So everything worked out well. So we'll turn it back to you in 9TLF.
Well, Paul, you see, it happened just for you because you were thinking about Friday the 13th. So I'm glad it wasn't anything more significant than that, and that it was easily resolved. is K9OPL, and this is the South Central Area Net, standing by as net control, and do we have any other takers? Please call now.
K9CJT. Good evening, Joe.
K9CJT. Noel, good evening. I waited a second just in case we had any others. Good evening. Glad you made it in, and your turn for comments.
Thank you. Don't have a whole lot. However, the Columbus Amateur Radio Club is toying with the idea of having its December meeting on the air. We don't seem to be able to get a quorum any other way right now with all this draconian stuff. So, may do that. Stay tuned at 9CJT back to net.
Okay, well, yeah. We've done that, of course, earlier in the year, and if we need to, then that's what we'll do. And looking at it from another angle, as we are moving toward the higher potential of winter weather, it's not necessarily a bad idea to think about how we can have on-the-air meetings when we need to. I'd rather not have to do it because of the stuff that's going on right now, but we'll do what we have to. And, you know, we're amateur radio operators, and we make things work. Well, this is K9OPL once again at the bottom of the list. So I'll stand by. Do we have any others who'd like to join us? Please call now.
K9JFH.
For comments.
Pulling some water and
were perfectly readable, and then you got into the in and out syndrome there, Paul. So I didn't really get much of whatever you said. If you want to repeat any of it, please feel free to do so. K9OPL standing by.
yeah, I ran out to the car. My back isn't working yet. But I don't say this is N9J returning to.
Yeah, still got very little of that, although I did hear you say about out to the car, and sounds like it's still not working the way you want it to. Anyway, we'll have to maybe figure out what's going on there. But thanks for checking in. We definitely got a good copy on your check-in, but then after that we sort of got not so good. Well, this is K9OPL standing by. Do we have any others for the South Central Area Net? Please call.
Relay and 9CJT.
Go ahead, Noel.
Paul was commenting that he and his nephew were doing electrical work, and he thought he would run out to the car and check in and see what was going on. I'm not sure why I could hear him full quieting on the input and the repeater not, but anyway, I got him. N9CJT, you're relaying for N9JFH.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you, Noel. I noticed, and in some cases I think I can explain, people may be closer to me than they are to the repeater, but I noticed a few people who had more noise going into the system, and when I put them on input, flip to the input side, they were full quieting. I don't know how my signal's doing. I'm putting out about 10 watts right now, so, but of course I'm using a vertical inside the radio room here, so anyone's guess on how that does. But I'll stand by. Do we have anyone else or any other rechecks? K9OPL standing by for the South Central Area Net.
KD9 UPN Kilo Delta 9 Quebec Papa November.
And I heard a Victor, but I didn't get the call.
November 9, Echo Victor Mike, Norman Seymour.
Relay?
Got a 9 EVM that time. Was there a relay on another one?
You got him, N9 CJT.
Okay, very good. So I've got KD9 QPN and N9 EVM. Haven't heard you in a little while, Norm. Good to hear you. Before we get your comments from both of you, one more call. Any others? Papa November, KD9 QPN for comments.
K9OPL from KD9 QPN. This is Mike in Bartholomew County. Just saying hi. And I think after having played with my $30 Baofeng radio for a while now, I think I've got a decision that I'm going to try a ICOM 7100 as my first real radio. Would definitely love to hear any horror stories that would make that a bad decision, or ideas on what might be a better rig for a first radio that's going to be HF capable. So that's all I've got. Joe, thank you. Back to you. KD9 QPN, back to net control.
Okay, very good. Sounding good, Mike. And I personally don't know much about that radio. I like the ICOM radios that I've used. The considerations that I would always tell someone is, and I don't know what that radio has. I know it does have HF, VHF, and UHF, I believe. Don't know if it has any digital modes. And that's the other question, too, is if you want any digital modes, do you want them in the same radio as, do you want one full house radio that has them all and does everything you want, or do you want to divide and conquer? So anyone else who wants to chime in later after we call Norm for comments, so we'll kind of see if anyone else wants to chime in and comment on the 7100. Or Norm, for that matter. N9 EVM, your turn for comments.
Okay, thank you, Joe. This is N9 EVM. Well, I was looking around the shack at some of my rigs and trying to remember where they came from. I've got one I know that came from eBay, and one that was given to me, and a couple from a garage sale. So, but the one I think that warms my heart is my very first rig, and that was a Kenwood 7950. Ancient by today's standards. It had only 3 tones, and those were obtained by soldering diodes on tone board. But made a lot of QSOs with that way back when, so enjoyed it very much. I hope the 7100 would be a bright spot as well. But there's quite a few different ones out there. I'm running an FMT 400 now, and it has U.S.A Fusion, and I've used that before to get on the internet and talk to the world. So there's a lot of different ones out there. Very hard nowadays to make a decision, but maybe some folks after me, after my comments, will have some good suggestions. This is N9EVM, back to net control.
Okay, very good, Norm. Well, maybe I'll catch you on Fusion. We'll have to try that sometime. Of course, I've got the FT70DR handheld, and I've got several hotspots, so I can get on the FCS network, and that's the way I normally operate Fusion. Yeah, there are definitely a lot to choose from. This radio that I'm talking on right now is TMV71A Kenwood mobile radio, and it's only a VHF UHF. It's 2 meter and 70 centimeter. I like it. I wish they'd come out with one like it that had D-Star, but I also have a D-Star Kenwood THD74A, which is an amazing handheld. It's a tri-bander, and it does, I don't know how it does everything it does. It also has an all-mode receiver that receives anything from, I think it's 100 kilohertz to 500 and some odd megahertz, and does quite a good job of receiving HF bands. Can't transmit on them, but can copy CW sideband and anything else that you want, pretty much. And of course, it does have D-Star and APRS. So, and 220, which there's not a lot of activity. Well, I'm going to stand by one more time for check-ins, and then if anyone else would like to jump in and have some conversation about radios or 7100 in particular, or any other ideas to help Mike on his decisions. K9OPL, the South Central Area Net. I'll stand by. Do we have any additional check-ins this evening?
N9CJT recheck.
Okay, I've got Noel on a recheck. Any others before we go to the recheck?
Recheck.
Was that JFH? If it's you, Paul, you're still not really getting in very well. I might try you on input.
Trying me on input now, or were you going to do the recheck? No, for.
I don't know what I did. I think I might have messed myself up. And 9 JFH. Go ahead and try again.
Yeah, this is N9JFH. As Noel had, N9CJT had relayed, it wasn't actually my nephew, it was my son that had come over to help out electrical. But, yeah, I just wanted to do a recheck just to see if maybe I was coming in too strong, and if I turned my power down, did I come in any better?
Well, right now, in the last transmission, I had you perfectly readable and almost low quieting.
Seldom have any trouble with the mobile, so I'm not sure why, except that I was backed up pretty close to the garage, and sometimes the antenna doesn't pick up well, and I need to put the car in gear and move it away from the house to talk, so that could have been my problem.
That could be, because again, the last transmissions have been fine, and I can hear you both through the repeater and through the input.
All right, I appreciate coming back, and this is N9JFH. I'll be clear and return to net control.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Paul. And let's go back to you, Noel, N9CJT.
Joe, if you want to close the net, I'll catch Mike afterwards. I've got quite a bit of feedback on the 7100, all of it good, by the way. And I'd be happy to do that after the net if you'd like to go ahead and close it.
Okay, well, I'll give one more call for any additional check-ins, and then that way people will know also if you feel like you'd like to stay around and stay in the conversation, that's fine, and if not, you can secure. K9OPL, before we get into the informal, let's see if we have any additional check-ins for the net this evening. Please call.
Kilo Delta 9, Golf Victor. This is Greg down in Scottsburg.
Greg, I got KD9 Golf and then Victor, but there was a letter in between. Give the call again, please. I didn't get that at all. Anyone have the call there?
GUV.
Uniform, Victor?
Roger, roger.
Yeah, I thought that might have been it, but okay, Greg, KD9 Golf Uniform Victor. Go ahead if you have some comments, see if you can get in. Do appreciate your check-in. You must be a little bit far out for your either your antenna or your power. I know I couldn't possibly hit it from where you are with what I've got here, but I appreciate you checking in and joining us. Any others before we turn into the informals? This is K9OPL with the South Central Area Net. I'm going to call it about 9:10 p.m. and at this time we will close the net and return the repeater to normal use, and we'll probably have some interesting discussion going on here about 7100. K9OPL, good evening all, 73s, and look for you, any of you who would like to join us on the BC Areas Net tomorrow evening at 7:30, and any others who might like to join us on the D-Star, Indiana D-Star Net on Thursday at 8 p.m. Reflector 24B. K9OPL 73s, at this time closing net, returning repeater to normal use. Good evening all.
N9CJT, this is KD9QPN. Go ahead, Noel.
I'm trying to remember, is the middle initial, the middle of your suffix, is it a Papa?
That is affirmative. Quebec, Papa, November.
I'll have to work you a couple more times before I get that thoroughly ingrained into my brain. 7100 is a really good radio. It does. It is not full SDR like the 7300 would be, and quite frankly, I don't know whether it's APRS capable or not. You probably know that by reading up on it. But it really impresses me. It's, as you know, 160 meters through 70 centimeters, and it's both full analog and full D-Star on all those frequencies. Whether D-Star is legal on all those frequencies or not is another story, but you would certainly be able to operate the local repeater in its D-star mode with no problem with that kind of a radio. I like the layout of the display. Makes it very easy on operating on a desk with a computer or a notepad, either one, alongside. The detachable head, or rather the fact that the head is separate, is another cool feature, because it could easily go mobile as well. But I have not heard one bad thing about it, and I've run into several people on HF who are running the 7100, and they sound very nice. Did that give you anything you didn't already know? Back to you, Mike, N9CJT.
The details I pretty much do, and I'm still not sure on the APRS. I'll have to go do more research, but I'm still not quite to a place where I know fully what all I might want to do. Other than I know I want to go a little longer than 2 meters, so or a lot longer as the case may be. But yeah. No, that was very helpful. Thank you. Just not hearing any horror stories is mostly what I'm hoping for. If it's something I like something else better later on, that's fine. But I don't want to get it and say, well, gee, if I'd known that it had this flaw, then I would have gone another way. But no, very helpful. Thank you very much. KD9QPN.
Okay, Mike, KD9QPM and 9CJT. I think I misspoke. That's QP November, right?
Correct.
Yeah. For some reason, I'd switched from November to Mike. Probably because of your name. Oh, that's terrible. Anyway, the only drawback I can think of is that it may be difficult to simultaneously have a rag chew on 40 meters and monitor 70 centimeters or other such combinations. But that's probably why I have VHF, UHF in one rig and HF in the other. But for a radio that you could set up somewhere and do just about anything you can think of, that would be the rig. Now, if you get on the internet and look it up in various different locations and read the feedback or ratings or whatever, I'm sure you're going to find somebody that says it's about as useful as a piece of cat poop or some such thing. But the reviews that I've read are overwhelmingly highly positive. So I think you've made a good choice. And that's all I have on the subject. N9CJT, back to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Funny thing is, on QRZ, there was a 7100 that went up on the swap meet board yesterday afternoon for a very attractive price, and I only saw it tonight, so I probably would have had one had I seen it last night, but as it is, looks like I'll end up with a new one, so we'll give it a shot, and if anybody else has input, I would appreciate hearing that as well, and or if just if you have a sweetheart radio that would be good for a new guy, would appreciate knowing that as well. And later on down the road, I've never been opposed to making sure I have the right tool for the job, even if it means duplicating a tool I've already got. So anyway, if nothing else, thank you.
K9OPL with a comment?
KD9QPN.
Yeah, Joe.
Hey guys, Yeah, I didn't remember that was the one that had everything. If it has, in fact, D-Star on HF as well, the answer is yes. You can use D-Star on HF, and it's perfectly legal. They even have a D-Star propagation check every Saturday night on Reflector 30 Charlie, or at least they used to. I think they still do. And so, yeah, okay. Now I think I know which radio that is, and everything I've heard is extremely positive. So I don't know necessarily how one could go wrong with it. And ICOM does a good job. Of course, they were the first of the major manufacturers to give D-Star, provide D-Star in a radio. So interesting. I didn't, like I said, did not know that about it. So, but yes, D-Star is permissible. I know it's permissible on the HF bands on 2 meters, 220 and 70 centimeters. And I don't know if you can do it on frequencies beyond that. Over.
Well, Joe, I'm ignorant of whether it's okay on 60 meters or not. That would be one question in my mind. But other than that, I'm confident that you're right. N9CJT.
K9MDT comment.
I might go for it.
No, you're familiar with my Go Box. There's a company called Shack in a Box, believe it or not, shackinabox.com, that is making knockoffs of my inventions here, but I won't go there. But I was thinking that they put an ICOM 7100 in those, and it's not. It's a 7300, and they have an ID 4100A transceiver also in the same box. They use a Gator box, and just like mine, and they put a tuner and speakers, and you can do pretty much anything that you could do at home. You could do in that box. So. But it is I just looked it up. Because I thought it was a 7100. It is a 7300, and I've heard some pretty good reviews of the work that they've done with those. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'll turn it back to the group. W9MDT.
K9OPL. This is KD9QPN.
KD9QPN. Go ahead, Mike.
So I think the first thing I better do before I go playing with D-Star on too many frequencies is get my general license so I can actually do voice on things other than 10 meter. But yeah, thank you. That is good to know. And as I, especially until I get that ticket, I'll just be listening on the longer wavelengths, but be interested to play with the digital capability as well.
Well, of course, in the meantime, you can still talk worldwide on D-Star on 2 meters and 70 centimeters if you either use a hotspot or hook up to a repeater that's on the gateway. And with that radio, you should have no problem whatsoever reaching the W9NTP repeater in Shelbyville, which is the first place that I ever did worldwide D-Star. Over.
Okay, yeah, that I'll get playing with that. I know I've got that repeater in my handheld, but it definitely won't get anything from that far away right now. But yeah, hopefully with the 7100 I'll be able to reach that far, especially after I get a little better antenna a little further in the air. So, excellent. Thank you very much. Other comments? K9QPN?
Somebody else was trying to get... Nothing much else other than when you do get a radio, if you need any pointers on D-Star, I'm not an expert, but I played with it for the last 3 years or so more than happy to share what I know. If there was someone else trying to get in, go right ahead. This is K9OPL. I'll sit and listen.
I'm going to sign parting comment, Mike. If you get the 7100, you'll have a lot better audio than you do on your Baofeng. 7-3, y'all. Have a great evening. N9 CJT.
All right, thanks, Noel. Have a great evening yourself. And yeah, if it doesn't give much better audio than the $30 handheld, I will be sorely disappointed. So, yeah. All right, I'm probably needing to go do kid duties as well, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much, everyone, for your input, and this is KD9QPN. Good night.
23 is all K9OPL. I'm going to go QRT.
K9RMR, currently monitoring. K9RMR, no response. 73 clear.